Hi, and welcome to this very special webinar. My name is Dr. Millie Lytle. I am the founder of Nat Med Coach and the founder of Virtual Health Club. And thank you so much for registering for this free webinar on the 3 key stages of liver detox. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and start the presentation. And so we're going to be learning a lot of information today. I am going to be going over some biochemistry, the process of liver detox. So if you are geared for science, then you should enjoy some of the detail of it. But I've also made it general enough that if you haven't studied science before, that you'll understand. And I hope you enjoy the level of detail. Please let me know how you feel about that. So we'll be covering, we're just going to have a look at the liver, where it is, talking about what it does, what these 3 key stages are. And then I'll also be talking about obesogens, and do stay till the end because I'm going to be giving you a very special offer. And I really hope that you join me for my upcoming special offer. So here's the liver. It's located in the upper to middle right quadrant of the abdominal cavity. It's here in red, and you can see it's surrounded by the lungs to the top, and the heart is behind the left lung. When the stomach is kind of nestled underneath the liver. The pancreas is behind the stomach. You cannot see it. The pancreas is what we call retroperitoneal, so it sticks to the back of the abdominal cavity. And then you can see the large intestine here on the top, and all these curly small intestine, about 30 feet or 36 feet of length. Here closer up, the image on the right shows the liver, the gallbladder, the pancreas, and the bile duct, the passages. So you can see the 2 lobes of the liver, the left and the right. You can see this green, the gallbladder. This is where we concentrate our bile, and it gets released when we break down fats. Then you can see the pancreas here, which of course produces insulin to remove sugar from the blood, and then also produces pancreatic enzymes to break down fats and carbohydrates. And then you see the duodenum here, which is the beginning of the small intestine. You can't see it here in this picture because the large intestine is over top of it. The 3 liver detox stages, phase 1 is called oxidation, phase 2 is called conjugation, and phase 3 is called elimination. And I'm going to share what these mean, but essentially these are the 3 phases of metabolic detoxification, and each phase is performed by a different set of enzymes or proteins, and the phase is named after the processes that's going on. Phase 2 is actually subdivided into 6 different categories, and again is labeled according to the enzymes or proteins that are being metabolized. But the whole pathway of liver detox is taking something that's chemical that our body needs to break down so that it can use it and then safely excrete it. And essentially that's what detox is. It's that a chemical is entering the body some way, usually by ingestion of mouth, but it can be breathing it in, it can be rubbing it on our skin. The liver, which basically filters all of our blood, and certainly through portal circulation, which is the circulatory system around the liver, that's where all of our blood gets filtered for these additional chemicals that need to be broken down. Some toxins and waste products will just get processed through the intestine and then leave through the colon. But if there's anything that the liver needs to come in contact with, it certainly will do that because the blood flow will introduce it. So phase 1 is called oxidation. So this is an oxidative process. It does require oxygen. And essentially what the liver is doing is it's the first line of defense against toxins. So when a toxin comes into the body, and that could be anything from, gets activated from caffeine, alcohol, environmental pollutants like dioxin, paint fumes, so not just things that we're eating, but also things that we are breathing, steroids, pesticides, medications like sleeping pills, oral contraceptives, cortisone cream, or inhaled corticosteroids. there's a group of enzymes known as cytochrome P450 family. And this is a group of enzymes. This is not just one enzyme. And this group of enzymes acts at these toxins and essentially introduces oxygen in order to break them down into less harmful metabolites. Now, certain people do have genetic defects here. So if somebody, for instance, has a genetic defect, they're born that way, they cannot metabolize Tylenol, then they could die just from a Tylenol overdose. It wouldn't even need to get to the point where it does so via acute liver failure. It's actually just that the body cannot metabolize Tylenol. And so if it builds up too fast in the blood, then it could damage the central nervous system or the liver, just from its accumulation, not being able to break it down. And the same thing can happen to street drugs, pharmaceutical drugs, and the lack of cytochrome P450 can also happen if one takes chemicals that blocks the cytochrome P450 family from being activated, such as grapefruit. This is what grapefruit does. So grapefruit contains a chemical called naringin, and naringin blocks the cytochrome P450 family from breaking down, metabolizing like thyroid medication and beta blockers. And so that's why one can't take grapefruit when they're taking this, because you'll get a buildup of the thyroid medication. And then your body won't be able to use it properly, or it'll have too big of a dosage, or you'll never get the dosage, and then the medication can build up. So free radicals can be generated during this stage. So while the liver is breaking down, introducing oxygen species through the cytochrome 450 pathway to break down these chemicals or break them apart into smaller packages, there's reactive oxidative stress, ROS, free radicals. And you might know that free radicals damage cells. So they might kill them prematurely, they might increase the risk of cancer, they might cause advanced aging. And so this in and of itself is dangerous for the liver. And so in the process of phase 1 oxidation or phase 1 detox, what's happening is that the liver is actually at risk of being damaged. And so the more toxins that we have coming in, by way of medications or pesticides or what have you, the more that our liver needs to produce an enzyme called glutathione, which is the universal antioxidant. And glutathione protects the liver cells. So the glutathione basically neutralizes these free radicals and returns this, ensures that the liver is in good shape and that it's not being damaged. And glutathione is created from a series of nutrients. So our body makes glutathione, but in order to make glutathione, we need to have a series of nutrients there so that it can, protect the liver. Cysteine is the rate limiting chemical. So cysteine is actually an amino acid. You might recognize N-acetylcysteine or NAC, which is a supplement. And this is the antidote to Tylenol poisoning. So if somebody gets Tylenol poisoning, it's recognized that they've overdosed on Tylenol, or, if it's a child and they've accidentally taken an adult dosage or something, in the hospital, they will get intravenous NAC. And NAC essentially increases glutathione so that it protects the liver, so that if there's acute liver injury, that it can return to normal. The liver is regenerative, and potentially all organs of the body are regenerative, but it's known that the liver is regenerative. So the cells of the liver can actually die and come back. The liver can come back, it can grow back. And it does so in part through glutathione, which is created based on the presence of how much cysteine is there. Now, the more chemicals are there, then the more the body needs cysteine and alpha lipoic acid, the other chemical, natural chemical that's needed in order to produce glutathione. So it's always about this balance, like how much toxin, how much harmful material is there versus how much helpful material is able to protect my liver. So the more Tylenol's in the system, the more glutathione gets wasted, actually, it gets used. And so we need to be making sure really on a daily basis, hopefully through food, not only through supplementation, but through food, and we can increase it through supplementation, that we're creating glutathione so that the body's able to handle its chemical burden and move chemicals from this phase 1 phase into phase 2. So foods that support phase 1 are, you might have heard of milk thistle. Milk thistle is considered a liver detoxifier, but it really helps this phase 1 area, reducing inflammation and protecting against liver cell damage. Sassafras, this is the herb that was the original root beer was made of. It's an herb that kind of tastes like licorice a little bit. It's got that root beer flavor. Caraway seeds, dill seeds. So there's plenty of herbs and spices that help support the liver. Citrus like tangerines and oranges are rich in vitamin C, and they help to support glutathione production. Grapefruit, of course, blocks phase 1, so grapefruit is not part of this citrus, but also lemon would be here, and limes. Other foods that are rich in vitamin C, like strawberries, bell peppers, spinach, all the squashes that are red, yellow, and orange, and even green leafy foods, parsley, etc., are rich in vitamin C. Microgreens, sprouts, cruciferous vegetables, the broccoli family or the brassica family vegetables, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, collard greens, kale, turnips. These help to support phase 1. So these activate this cytochrome P450. And not only do they neutralize harmful chemicals, but they're also specifically good at breaking down estrogen into safe metabolites. And so then we also have a series of natural chemicals called lipotrophics, and lipotrophics are members of the B vitamin family. They're what's considered a fat-soluble B vitamin, but they really have a fat-soluble end and a water-soluble end. And so cysteine is in this family, actually cysteine, methionine, which are not really vitamins. They're actually amino acids, choline and inositol. And these help to metabolize fats. So these would be partially responsible. Another function of the liver, so a big function of the liver is to detoxify and take apart and neutralize all these chemicals. But another big function of the liver is to create cholesterol and break down cholesterol and make sure that cholesterol is in a healthy place. And cholesterol absolutely has a purpose. Cholesterol creates our hormones. It's the foundation so that we can make testosterone and estrogen. And also it helps deliver fat-soluble nutrients and return fat-soluble chemicals from the cells. And so we need to have, a healthy amount of cholesterol in order to do this job. And these nutrients help that, as well as vitamin D. And then we also need minerals in order to help this phase 1, magnesium and iron. And everybody needs iron. So let's be clear about this. It doesn't mean everybody needs iron supplementation, but everybody, even women who are no longer menstruating, even men, red blood cells only last 60 days, 120 days. It's a 2 to 4 month cycle. And then we need to make new red blood cells. We need iron in order for that to happen. And it's actually the liver that breaks down old red blood cells. And we'll see a little bit about what happens when that goes wrong later, because that affects the liver as well. Phase 2. And I've started phase 2 because phase 2 is really what we're talking about when we're talking about liver detox and doing a liver detox. Because the reason is because if chemicals get stuck in phase 1, phase 2 is not happening, then we start getting all these signs of aging. And so phase 2 is called conjugation. And during this phase, the chemicals are neutralized and they get turned into water soluble. So they get repackaged from what might have been fat soluble now into water soluble. And now that they're water soluble and they're no longer kind of reactive oxygen species and killing the liver anymore, now we can move it along to the kidneys. We can move it along elsewhere for phase 3. So phase 2 is really this conjugation phase, really when these kind of chemicals that were deactivated, broken apart in phase 1 are neutralized and made water soluble, made safe. And there's actually 6 different pathways that comprise phase 2. And you can kind of tell what's happening based on the name of them. So glucuronidation is a breaking down of sugar. Acetylation, esterification, amino acid conjugation. And conjugation means transition, repackaging, changing, and sulfation, and then glutathione conjugation. Glutathione is also important at phase 2, highly important and needed in order for phase 2 to happen. Nutrients and foods that support phase 2 are sulfur. And so I'm not talking about sulfa medications. I'm talking about sulfur components like thiosulfur and allicin and alanine and these components of like garlics and onions that kind of make them stinky like eggs. Cruciferous vegetables also have this smell. Egg yolks, here it is, that contain sulfur. And sulfur is a detoxifier and really helps the body through this phase 2. Now, some people could have a genetic issue with sulfur and not to be able to tolerate foods with sulfur in them. And as opposed to people who have like SIBO or intestinal overgrowth and get stomach pain when they eat garlics and onions, people who have a sulfur issue would actually vomit. It would actually make them sick if they were to eat it. And you can also smell some people who have who smell like garlic. People who eat a lot of garlic really smell like it. And that might be because their sulfur pathway is being stressed. So they're eating too much garlic. And they're getting a bit of a backup of sulfur. So they might need more glutathione or need more nutrients to help support the sulfur process. Amino acids, glycine, cysteine, N-acetylcysteine, taurine, methionine. These are found in meat. These are found in many foods that have these amino acids in them. And these are required for phase 2. Sometimes people recommend whey protein isolate for detoxification. And this is why, because whey protein has all these essential amino acids. Essential means that our body needs them needs to eat them in order to get them. It means that our body does not make them. So whereas glutathione, our body makes it. However, if we're taking so much Tylenol in, or if we're taking so much alcohol in, then it's really depleting the body's ability to make more. We have more chemical, we have more need for glutathione than we actually are making glutathione. So we need to increase these nutrients so that our body can make more glutathione, or we need to decrease the chemicals so that our body doesn't need as much glutathione. Because when our body doesn't have enough glutathione, then we start to see signs of illness and aging. And I'm going to get into that. Molybdenum, it's a trace mineral. It's found in leafy vegetables. It's found in full spectrum salts, sea salts or Himalayan salts. It's found in spring water. It's found in organ meats like liver. You wouldn't generally take a supplement of molybdenum, but you might find it if you got an organic acids test and you were low in molybdenum. Then you might start supplementing with a very small trace of it, generally measured in micrograms. Vitamin B12, it's found in meat, it's found in nutritional yeast, it's found in green veggies. Now, while I normally wouldn't consider meat or dairy as detoxifying, they do have nutrients in them that are detoxifying. And some people will choose to, if they go on a detox, will choose to do more of a paleo detox as opposed to a vegetarian detox if they're not able to handle grains, for instance. And so everybody's body is a little bit different. Glutathione, as I mentioned before, it's made up of cysteine, it's made up of of methionine, it's made up of alpha lipoic acid, and you can also take it as a supplement. Other foods and nutrients that help phase 2 are flavonoids. These are found in onions, they're found in celery, apples, they're found in the skins of some of the healthiest red fruits and vegetables, red, orange, purple, resveratrol from grape skins and blueberries, and ellagic acid from pomegranates and grape skins. They're found in rosemary and organic soy, especially if it's sprouted or fermented. It's found in cabbage, all the cabbage family vegetables, sauerkraut, etc. So these foods all help to support phase 2, and these would be foods that you would eat on a detox. Sluggish liver, what does this mean? So there's this whole history in medicine that questions the holistic medicine side, that we need to detox, so that there is even such a thing as detox. And in medical texts, I've noticed that they've started changing the language so that they're calling it metabolism as opposed to detoxification. And that's kind of because they want to point to the holistic side and say, oh, you guys are a bunch of quacks. There's no such thing as toxins. There's no such thing as detox. The body just deals with the chemicals daily. It's called metabolism. And so now it's called phase 1, 2, and 3 metabolism sometimes, instead of phase 1, 2, and 3 detox. And that's really just to separate medicine from holistic medicine, naturopathic medicine. So Likewise, oftentimes medicine only looks at the diseases. So if you don't have high AST, ALT, if your liver enzymes are not high and you don't actually have hepatitis or liver disease, then there's nothing wrong with your liver. But in holistic medicine, we look at it as a process. You know, the more we start seeing signs on the body way before disease develops. And the signs on the body are a symptom that disease is developing. It's just that it hasn't gotten to a point where it's bad enough that the organ is failing. So in holistic medicine, we want to be preventative. We want to be proactive. So we want to catch these signs of aging because these are really signs of chronic disease. And so when our body starts aging faster, this is a sign that our liver is not keeping up with toxins. And I hope, you know, everybody listening to this talk is evaluating their own practices and what chemicals they're exposed to and maybe what nutrients they're not exposed to that they ought to be exposed to so that you can balance out your lifestyle. So in phase 2, liver detox is sluggish, and this means that, okay, we're not really producing enough glutathione or other, there's not enough cofactors of other nutrients there in order to break down and repackage safely, neutralize all the chemicals. This spells danger. This is when we're activating, you know, phase 1 and not able to activate phase 2. And this can happen simply by taking a Tylenol can make us feel hungover, or drinking morning coffee can make us feel like we have a crash. Or, you know, I used to be able to drink a wine in the night, but now I get a headache after even just one wine in the morning, or a migraine. This is a sign that the liver is not functioning well. Or if I'm all of a sudden, you know, more allergic, more seasonal allergies that I used to be, or I can no longer handle the same foods that I used to. I used to be able to eat bread. I used to be able to eat pickles. I used to be able to drink a beer, and now I can no longer do it. This is because the liver is no longer able to keep up with the toxic burden. And it also does segue into other digestive issues as well. And so, and certain diseases are a direct result of damage to the body from poor phase 2 detox. So cancer, definitely correlated to chemicals, to chemical exposure. You know, carcinogens. Carcinogens is a whole onslaught category of chemicals that promote cancer. And the reason is because our liver is not able to break these down safely, and we're not educated properly about how to assist our body in doing that. Whereas we're essentially just being like, no, your body does that anyway, so, you know, just eat healthy. But what actually does eat healthy mean? You know, how many servings of fruits and vegetables, how many servings of pomegranates and blueberries do I need to get on a daily or weekly basis in order to keep up with my Tylenol intake? Parkinson's, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue. So our body is no longer able to make enough energy anymore. Our body's cells are being starved for energy. And this could be because of chemical and toxic buildup. Autoimmune diseases, you know, our immune systems are overreacting to environmental triggers, not just because their environmental triggers are somewhere out there existing. It's because they're penetrating our body, and our body has to deal with those, and it can no longer do that. And so our immune system overreacts and acts as if there's something killing us, which there is something killing us. Our body is actually being very intelligent in that situation. It's saying it cannot deal with these chemicals. It's just that we have to really be an investigator ourselves and say, oh, okay, it's these chemicals that I can no longer tolerate. Like, I have to make these changes in my life. Because otherwise, if we're waiting for the doctor to tell us, that might never happen until, you know, we already have cancer or Parkinson's disease or lupus. So signs of aging. So places to start is like, okay, you know, I've aged over the past year. I've had a lot of stress over the past year. And we also tend to blame stress. Now, stress is definitely a factor. But our body also has the ability to handle stress. And really, stress is our body's inability or perceived inability to handle it. It's not how much comes our way. It's whether our body can handle it or not. So, and this is emotional stress as well as physical stress, chemical stress. And so you might see signs of aging on the face, crow's feet, wrinkles, dry skin, sagging skin, age spots, brown spots, new moles, new freckles, sun damage. You know, these are signs that our liver is not able to process chemical assault anymore. Large pores, dark under eye circles, and there's more. Obesity, gaining weight, not being able to tolerate foods, like I mentioned, that one used to be able to tolerate, not being able to drink a beer, not being able to drink a coffee, or being able to drink coffee and it puts you to sleep. You know, you don't stay up as a result of drinking coffee. all of these signs show themselves far before disease prevents. And then when disease presents, it can also be like fatty liver. And if somebody is obese, then okay, maybe it's understandable that they have a fatty liver. But if somebody, or if somebody's an alcoholic, then maybe it's understandable that they have cirrhosis. But if somebody is not an alcoholic and is not obese, maybe they're taking too much Tylenol, or maybe they're just not eating a nutritionist enough diet. And the thing is that our body, when there's a chemical exposure that's so high that our blood, our cells, our delicate organs cannot cope with, then our body sends these chemicals to our fat cells where it cannot be bothered, where it cannot be disturbed. And the larger our fat cells, the more fat cells we have, the more chemicals we can store in, what the body would consider a safe or dormant space, which means that our chemical burden as Americans, because Americans tend to be, have a problem with obesity, is that much higher. And then it starts damaging our organs of reproductivity and our hormones, and we'll see that later. But first, phase 3. So phase 3 is called elimination, or sometimes it's called transportation, but it's really the phase of elimination. So now the chemicals have been broken down. They've been neutralized into these water-soluble packages. They're safe. They can be distributed to other places, but where would they want to be distributed, right? They need to be distributed to the organs of elimination, the emunctories. So they need to be distributed to our kidneys so that our body can send them out via our urine, or it needs to be distributed to our small intestine, leave the bile, go out into our small intestine, through our GI tract, and eliminated via our stool. Now, there are also other organs of detoxification, other emunctories. Our lymphatic fluid, which follows our blood, breaks down old viruses and even old cellular debris, and that follows our circulation. So we can activate that. We can sweat and eliminate toxins through our sweat, whether through exercising or saunaing, and then also we breathe out toxins through our breath. Actually, that's how we breathe out the majority of the heat. That's how we get rid of the majority of the heat, or fat if we're losing weight, through our body, is through our breath via carbon dioxide and other waste products. And so, but in terms of liver detoxification, when we're talking about elimination, transportation, mostly the waste products are leaving through our kidney, and through our kidney via urine, and through our stool. And so what can you do? And so what happens when elimination is poor? And so this is a condition called jaundice. This is a yellowing of the eyes. Now, we can start noticing different changes to the whites of our eyes. They're looking cloudy, they're looking red, they're looking bloodshot, they're looking, and it could be due to a lack of sleep, but it could also be or they're starting to have growths on them. This is a liver not being able to handle this chemical burden. And basically with jaundice, it's the inability of bilirubin to be cleared from the body. And so, as I mentioned before, our red blood cells die every 60 to 100 days. And that means our body has to break down hemoglobin. And hemoglobin is the protein in red blood that distributes oxygen. And so our body has to get rid of that. And so if hemoglobin can't be broken down properly, then our bilirubin builds up. And so this is also a sign that the liver is not functioning. So bilirubin is supposed to move through the liver and be expelled from the body. And if this doesn't occur, then it can cause skin issues, eczema, it can cause skin yellowing, it can cause lipomas, it can cause different deposits on the skin, and it can also cause yellowing on the eyes, which is considered jaundice. So of course, when somebody's an alcoholic, we expect this type of condition. And we expect that too much alcohol, or like an influx every day of alcohol, is going to damage the liver. But even small amounts of alcohol, if the liver is having too much of another chemical burden, can cause this. Or it can be caused when there's too much alcohol or too much chemical in comparison to the dietary habits. So we're not eating enough fruits and vegetables, jaundice can happen. And so just by adding fruits, vegetables, and some of the foods that I've already mentioned, whole grains, brown rice, for instance, or quinoa, or what we eat on a detox, then you can actually clear your eyes. Jaundice can also be a side effect of taking medications like acetaminophen, so it can be a sign of Tylenol toxicity, and or if you're taking penicillin, or if you're taking birth control, or if you're taking HRT or anabolic steroids for bodybuilding or muscle growth or growth hormone, then this is a sign that the liver is really, have it struggling. And this is in the phase 3 portion, struggling with phase 3. Now, this is a category of chemicals. Now, I mentioned carcinogens, and carcinogens are the overall category of cancer-causing chemicals. Obesogens are the chemicals that mimic they mimic estrogen, and they get lodged in our fat cells and oftentimes our reproductive organs. And so even though I don't necessarily say that we can lose weight on a detox, because when we lose weight on a detox, it's generally water, inflammation, and poop. We do want to gradually gradually dislodging these chemicals so that we're reducing our cancer load. And we don't want to do it fast. We want to do it slower because we want to get rid of, and when we are losing weight, we definitely need to detox, because we need to ensure that our body is packaging these chemicals properly and getting rid of them. So if you're losing weight, if you're on a weight loss program, you have to be pooping. You have to be pooping and peeing, and this is the most important thing. And so what you can do to help support phase 3 is drink enough water. You have to drink water. So sometimes people eliminate, they reduce water, or they only drink soda, or they only drink coffee, or they only drink tea, or they only drink alcohol. And these beverages are all dehydrating. What's more, soda is either rich in sugar or it's rich in aspartame. Aspartame is a pesticide, okay? So it's an obesogen, it's a pesticide, it's cancer causing. It was developed by Monsanto, and they just happened to discover by accident that it tastes sweet. We have to drink water. Even if your kidneys have something wrong with them and you do need to be restricting water, you still do need some water. If you're on a diuretic, you still do need some water. So you don't want to be restricting water ever when you're to the point of not having any water. You need to ask your doctor how much water you can drink, and drink that much water. Because our bodies need to urinate. It needs to get rid of waste product, because if it's not, these chemicals are just recirculating, have to go back into the liver, definitely causing more free radicals, damaging our skin and our eyes more, and our organs, our central nervous system. Proper functioning of the GI system is also extremely important so that we can poop. If we're not pooping daily, if we have constipation, if we have sluggishness, loose stool, IBS type symptoms, diarrhea on an ongoing basis, then we're not sufficiently getting rid of our waste product. We're not sufficiently detoxing phase 3. So we're not eliminating. And so in order to promote healthy bowel movements, we need to avoid foods that cause inflammation, that cause constipation, and that we're not able to digest well, foods we're sensitive to. We need to ensure that we're getting adequate fiber, both soluble and insoluble, the roughage fiber as well as the slippery fiber, on a daily basis, so that bowel movements are easier, they're bulky, and they're smooth. We need to maintain a healthy microbiome. So whether or not this means that we need to cut out bad bacteria by cutting out sugar, because sugar feeds bad bacteria, or mold, or if we're exposed to fungus. And we need to increase our good microbiome. So we need to either take fermented foods, or take a probiotic, or take some kind of make sure that we're having good enough fiber in our diet so their body actually is capable of generating good bacteria, and ensuring that we're having regular daily bowel movements. Magnesium is an essential mineral that we need to relax our bowels, to relax our nervous system so that we can poop easily. And you also do want to engage in healthy bathroom hygiene. And this means giving yourself a relaxed time to go to the bathroom on a daily basis. Constipation in holistic medicine is not regarded as once or twice a week bowel movement. It's regarded as no bowel movement every day. So if you're not having a bowel movement on a daily basis, then you're constipated. Even if you're missing a day occasionally, or every week you're missing a couple days, you're still constipated, because ideally we need to be having a bowel movement, a good solid bowel movement, ideally the length of our arm to our elbow, for every meal that we eat. And so in order to do that, we need to be eating enough fiber, and that bulks up our stool. And we need to be engaging in all these other practices, enough water, and giving ourselves the time following nature's call. You know, when we have the urge to go, we follow that, we don't suppress it. And we make sure that we give ourselves space and time in a relaxed way. So obesogens, what do? They get stored in fat. They get stored in fat cells. And so this is when the body recognizes that our chemical burden is so high, our liver is unable to process it. And so they just sends it off to a place like a rural location. You go over there somewhere where you're going to be safe and you're not going to disturb any of the central organs. And the problem is that for people who have stubborn weight, it's because their liver's not functioning properly. They're not able to metabolize their chemicals properly. And so then the body just sequesters all of these pesticides and estrogen related chemicals, obesogens we call them, in our fat storing cells. And they create hormonal imbalance. They disrupt our endocrine system. They increase our risk for chronic disease like autoimmune disease and cancer, because we're storing all these chemicals that our body should have gotten rid of. And they can even change our DNA. And so what are some of these obesogens, chemicals that are making us fat? Definitely pesticides. Pesticides are fat soluble. They mimic estrogen in the body. You know, they're found in food. They're found in Dirty Dozen food. Definitely check that list out. But they're found in any food that's conventionally sprayed. And they're found in tap water as well, which is why we need to filter our water, like at least with a Brita, if in a carbon filter, if not, you know, further. BPA, the lining of tin cans, in water, water bottles, non-stick cookware, Gore-Tex, microwave popcorn bags, carpeting, clothing, that smell you get from backpacks and luggage, and it's in water as well. This is, these chemicals get lodged into your fat cells. Phthalates, which are in soft and hard plastics, vinyl toys, wall paint, air fresheners, Glade plugins. You know, what is a Glade plugin doing for your life? It's basically, it's just masking that you need to clean, and it's putting your dog, any children, and you at risk for cancer, because it's carcinogenic, it's estrogenic, it's obesogenic, and it's just increasing the toxic load in your atmosphere. So we have to be really smart about what we're doing. We're spraying air fresheners, you know, we're using Febreze, we're using all these chemicals, we're using bleach, we're using all these chemicals. We're just creating a toxic waste dump in our house, where our house should be like a safe place for our children, a safe place for our dogs, a safe place for us. So we really need to reconsider how much chemicals we're putting in our environment and introducing in our systems. Soy. So this is kind of representative of like cheap food that's used as filler. This corn is the same situation. It's genetically modified. There's tons of pesticides on it. It's in every packaged food on the shelf. Every cow, all livestock is given it. So every time you eat meat that's from factory farm, every time you drink milk or dairy, you're getting more and more of this crap food that the animal was fed. You're getting antibiotics, which are also obesogenic, you know, and you're getting the animal's hormones, which they produce their own hormones, their own stress hormones, their own sex hormones. And so you're getting all that, which is also, you can store. MSG, you know, increasing taste and all sorts of packaged food. You know, Chinese food is renowned for it, although you can get it without MSG. Vinyl, pesticides, fungicides, bactericides. So if you're spraying your lawn, you know, you're giving yourself cancer potentially. Wood chips, carpets, all this like new car smell. Diet drinks, as I mentioned, artificial sweeteners are pesticides. So every time you're adding sweet and low to your coffee, you know, coffee in itself is also an obesogen, because it has, it's an estrogenic property. It's a xenoestrogen. Alcohol is as well. And so we have to think about where we are in our environment, like how we are in our ecosystem, where we're positioning ourselves in our world. And we can't control everything that's outside. You know, I live in New York City. There's tons of chemicals. It's not about being a boy in a bubble or a girl in a bubble. And we certainly want to be able to experience the atmosphere as it is, even if it's polluted. We want to be able to experience it. We don't want to be hiding inside our homes. But let's pay attention. Is your home actually safer than the polluted environment because you're just spraying chemicals around all the time? You're washing your bed sheets and chemicals, and you're spraying chemicals on your furniture, and you're spraying chemicals, releasing chemicals into the air, and you're washing your floor with chemicals. And especially during this time, we really need to think, is that we're spending so much time at home, we really need to think what the recommendations are. We can't go hysterical and think, oh, there's germs in the air, so therefore I have to use the strongest things to get rid of germs, because what are the things that are strong made of, and what are they doing to our systems? Like, that could be worse than the risk of getting corona for lots of people. And so we have to think of, is the medicine worse than the disease? You have to think long and hard about that. And everybody has to assess their own environment and their own risk. And you should know your risk because you have grown up with yourself. And so if you're getting educated, now is a great time to realize, what you've been exposed to in your lifetime and how you can kind of undo it. And we all have to do that. And so being exposed to all these obesogens causes, because they tend to be stored where estrogen is stored, because they tend to be xenoestrogens, obesogens. They get stored in the breast, they get stored in the ovaries, they get stored in the prostate, the endometrium, which is the lining of the uterus. They get stored in the fat cells, and they disrupt other organs' hormones. So they definitely disrupt our testosterone. They make men more estrogenic. They affect our pituitary gland, our thyroid gland. They increase our stress hormones. They reduce our ability to fight and to get rid of these bad hormones on their own. And they increase risk for cancers, for these estrogen-linked cancers. And so, this is part of the assessment. How do we get rid of these obesogens? Well, we have to avoid them. You have to go green in your home. You have to start, making your own, do it yourself. Make your own cleaners out of vinegar, borax, or buy a natural brand. Use essential oils. Isopropyl alcohol essentially kills all germs. Look back to this COVID thing. It's essentially enough to kill most germs, including coronavirus, including all bacteria and germs. And it's not on this pesticide obesogen list, whereas bleach and chemical cleaners and Glade and all this stuff that we're paying so much money for, by the way, is on that list of carcinogens. So why pay more money to give yourself cancer when you could just be using up, white vinegar or alcohol, borax, essential oils? Go to the environmental working group. They certainly aren't perfect, but they do great at some things. Like, they have rated household cleaners according to toxic burden, and also sunscreens, and they've rated those. What's the sense of using 100 SPF if it's going to give you cancer when all you need is 30? And so, yeah, nobody wants to get burned, but at the same time, are you overdoing it? Are you applying unnecessary chemicals, thinking that you're protecting yourself and really doing something bad for yourself? So you can go organic, you can go non-GMO, you can look up the Organic Consumer Association and see better options, or you can look up natural recipes online. I mean, there's all sorts of, I wrote a blog recently about how to clean our fruits and vegetables naturally, just using apple cider vinegar, maybe a little bit of peroxide and water. And it's so easy, it's so cheap, and you can use white vinegar too. You just make sure you rinse the vinegar taste off, and it's not using chemicals, and it's so cheap. Who doesn't want to save money? You don't want to spend money on chemicals. And so you definitely want to filter out, just like your liver filters. You want to filter and decide what chemicals you're allowing into your space. And then you also want to encourage chemicals from being released from your body. So we eat foods with phytoestrogen content. So we eat vegetables, we eat legumes, we eat organic soy. We allow our estrogens to be converted into safe metabolites via these foods. These foods act as medicine. We do liver detox. We eat the foods that I mentioned that increase and support phase 1, phase 2. And we also eliminate and do phase 3. We drink fresh filtered water, spring water. We engage in deep breathing. As I mentioned, when we expire, when we breathe out, this is when we're breathing out all of our carbon dioxide, and with it goes chemicals, and with it goes calories. So everything that's heat generated, everything that we're losing, you know, calories through our body. This is where most of our, if we're losing weight, it goes out our breath. When we move, when we move our bodies, you know, you only really, and if you're looking to burn fat, you really only need to get your heart rate up to 130, between 100 and 130. And you do to sustain that for 20 minutes, and then your body's burning fat. And in doing that, you're helping to get your blood flow going, your lymphatic flow going. And if you're also assisting it via liver detox foods to get the waste materials and the chemicals processed and neutralized and eliminated, then you're going to start seeing more advances in your weight loss. If you're over exercising, if you're, you know, hitting cardio all the time, you're only burning sugar. Now that has some benefits to it, but if you're always engaged in that cardio mode and over exercising, and then you're overshooting your fitness targets, and you're not helping yourself lose weight, and you're working too hard. Lymphatic drainage, so rebounding, jumping, engaging in activity, dry skin brushing, hot and cold showers, going in the cold lake, going in the cold ocean. You know, this is how we get rid of viruses and improve our immune system. Never get obese in the first place. If you allow your body to get obese, then it's going to definitely attract all of these chemical pesticides and have them clinging to your fat cells. And, you know, we can also detox via supplementation. Detox is so important. It's so important to ensure that your liver and your kidney and your skin and all your emunctories of detoxification, your lungs. But here we're primarily talking about liver detox, and then also that converts into kidney detox and colon detox. It's detoxing every day. So you always want to be the judge of how many toxins you're letting in, and then also how much you're doing to support your liver. You're not just relying on what your doctor said, oh, your liver will do it itself. No, your liver actually won't do it itself. Your liver will stop doing it as well over time. Your liver needs consistent support in order to function well. You know, here we are, we've ruined our environment. We're overburdened with chemicals. Even people who live in the country, they might have a nuclear power plant, or they might have like contaminated well water. There might be all sorts of reasons, or there might be farmland nearby, so they're getting pesticides sprayed constantly, or all sorts of different arboretums or arboreums, or, you know, meat processing plants. I mean, sugar processing plants. There's all sorts of chemical waste that gets processed in you know, what we would consider clean areas as well. So you could be in some kind of toxic belt, and most people know if they are. You know, we're exposed to over 2,500 unregulated chemicals. Some of them might be regulated as well. We're exposed to certainly a lot of regulated chemicals, and then the combination of them is not known. We don't know what the effects is of these chemicals being combined together, or how much we're actually getting, how much we're introducing. You know, how many times can I clean my floor with bleach in a week, and how many Glade plugins can I plug into my socket before I'm really at risk of getting cancer? Especially if I'm eating the standard American diet and not doing anything to help support my body to detoxify. And so you have to give your body a break. You know, if you're noticing that your seasonal allergies are getting worse, if you're noticing that you're not able to eat the same foods that you used to eat anymore, and then it's time to do a detox. And one thing that I love about the detox, in addition to, you know, the immediate changes that you get, pretty much like by day 3 or 4, your skin glows, your energy is high, your body is eliminating well, you don't have any cravings, you're sleeping well, you're feeling balanced, you're not feeling agitated or moody. I mean, it's incredible the transformation that happens when you're in a detox, but also the spiritual and emotional transformation that we're getting in contact with our food, that we're realizing the simplicity of food and how food nourishes us, and what that feels like to be nourished, and what it feels like to have a break. And we're also getting more vulnerable and open to this experience, you know, without just mindlessly making decisions in routine that we've always done. We're really able to take more responsibility and create self-sufficiency while we're in a detox. You do go through a transformation, and it's not something that it's easy to explain. You do have to experience it. So having said that, I do hope that you will join me. I would love to invite you if you have not already registered. If you're a member of Virtual Health Club, then you're already pre-registered. If you're a paying member, or if you're one of my active patients, then you are already pre-registered. If you've tried out Virtual Health Club, you've had a free tryout, then I hope you will continue with us for this detox, or, you know, reactivate your membership to Virtual Health Club so that you can participate in this detox with us. Or if you just want to do the month-long detox, some people have joined already because they wanted to get their free gifts. So thank you so much. So I'm really excited to get this thing kicked off. We are kicking it off tomorrow officially. That's June 1st. And what it's going to be is we're prepping for detox for the first 14 days. So we essentially have started already the prep. And then starting Friday, June 13th, we're going to be detoxing from that day for 2 weeks, for the following 2 weeks. And so we'll be wrapping up by the end of June. That's the 27th or something of June. And then we'll reintroduce foods in a safe and healthy way for the remainder of June. So it's going to be a really fun month. We're going to do there is opportunity to kind of tailor the detox to your own needs, what you can tolerate in terms of food. What I'm going to be doing for the first week is a brown rice detox. So it's going to focus around brown rice and vegetables. Then I'm going to be doing a three-day mono diet, which is eating one food each day for 3 days. I'm going to change the foods each day. So one day I'm going to do, for instance, apples. One day, for instance, I'm going to do cauliflower. And the other day I'm going to do sweet potato, for instance. There's some choices as to what you can do on these days. Again, really making it simple in your diet. And then I'm going to be doing a 3-day master cleanser, which is a lemonade cleanse. Some people are going to be doing a juice cleanse. If you don't want to do a fast, then that's absolutely fine. You can continue the mono diet, or you can go back to the brown rice diet. Some people are going to be doing more paleo focused if they can't do grains or pseudo grains, and just going to be doing like fish and some organ meats and vegetables. And that's absolutely fine. The first week, as we're doing the food cleanup, we're going to be doing a NutriClean detox, 7-day detox system, which is this box. It's a detox in a box. It includes 3 products. I've shown 2 here. One is called Hepato Cleanse. You don't get this whole bottle. They actually come in these little packets, and they're push pills, and they have all the nutrients in them that I've mentioned before that detox the liver. So they've got the NAC, they've got the milk thistle, and then the NutriClean is a fiber powder, a clear fiber powder with a probiotic in it, so it helps heal the gut. And then the other tablet is a release tablet, and that's an herbal laxative to make sure that you're going to the bathroom on a daily basis. Some people will need 2 of them per day, some people will need 4 of them per day. So we'll also tailor as to, you know, how you need. And so before we start the 14-day detox, I'm going to be teaching sessions, webinars. So I'm going to be teaching how to make delicious kale chips. I actually already recorded this yesterday. How to sprout chickpea and lentils so that we can have fresh sprouted vegetables right there on our shelf. We can make raw hummus. I'm going to be doing sauces for detox. So what condiments can we have? It's going to be about dairy-free pesto and hummus, as I mentioned. So definitely tune into that. What to eat on a detox, how to make brown rice, quinoa, and a great detox food that I'll introduce. The mono diet principles and what foods we can eat, fasting and detox, sweating it out, how exercise and detox go hand in hand, and sauning, how to be a master cleanser, salt flushes and other cathartics, which really help to deepen the detox, and maximizing the detox through supplementation. Tomorrow, we're going to be kicking it off. I'm going to be introducing the schedule. And then tomorrow afternoon, I've got Celine Ng, who's a pharmacist, and she just finished her master's in public health at NYU, and she's studying functional medicine. And she's going to be talking about different types of stress and how food is even stressful. And so we want to be aware of this as we're going into detox month. Dr. Selassie is going to be with us about the 3rd week, talking about how to implement supplements for detoxification and weight loss. And so that's going to be lots of fun. So there's going to be tons of content. We're going to have a designated detox page so that you can go, and if you missed any of the lives, then you can listen to the replay. Now, I absolutely recommend following us along live as much as you can. And if you can't follow live, then at least listening to each broadcast that day. But if you're already an experienced detoxer and you just want to, learn how to sprout or learn about the mono diets, then that's absolutely possible. You'll still be able to access all the videos the entire month. And then once we get into the detox, it's going to be a lot more. It's going to be some more lives and some more community coaching so that we can be there. And of course, on all the lives, you can ask questions. You can give us some tips on how it's going for you, some recipes you've encountered or you've tried, and there's going to be lots of community engagement that way via the detox group. So I invite you to join me. It's only $99. If you register by midnight tonight, then I am going to be including the 7-day NutriClean detox kit for free. That product is $46 plus $5 shipping. So it's about, $51 gift. I'm also going to be including the kale chips workshop, which is a $15 gift. And kale chips is a great snack for while we're detoxing. So you can tune into that webinar. Again, for those of you who are already registered, then you're going to get that. And everybody who registers, everybody who's in Virtual Health Club, and also those who register, whether you register or not by midnight tonight, you can start anytime. But if you do register by midnight tonight, then I will ship you that NutriClean 7-day detox kit and give you access to the kale chip webinar for free. And actually, yeah, so it says $20 value. So that's about right. $65. And I hope you'll join me. Thanks so much for being here today. I hope you've learned lots. I'm Dr. Millie.